Hello, everyone. I'm Joyce Slater, and I'm here with Mid-Continent Public Library, and we are doing love stories and origami. It's hearts and flowers today. My story is called The Mouse Princess. Once upon a time, there was a king. He was growing old, and he thought to himself, one of my children will need to take over for me as king or queen. Well, he had 3 sons, and his wife said to him, the queen said, "You know, none of our sons are married, not a single one. And you know how much better it is to have me beside you ruling this whole kingdom than it is to do it alone. So let's see if maybe one of them is ready to be married." So he said, "Oh, I don't know. All right, let's gather them together." And so he brought his 3 sons together and he said, "I know you've noticed I'm getting older." And they all nodded their heads and rolled their eyes and said, "Of course." He said, "Now, one of you will take my place as king." Well, the oldest son thought, "One of us? I'm the oldest. I thought I would be king." The middle son thought, "I always thought the oldest would be king, so why would I even care?" And the youngest one, he was like, he was a dreamer. He did not care at all about being king. But the king proceeded. He said, "And in the tradition of our family, you will choose a bride." They looked at each other. "All right. What is that tradition?" He said, "Each of you will cut down a tree, and in the direction that tree falls, you will go in search of a bride." Well, the oldest, he'd already been seeing a princess in a kingdom not far away. And the middle son, he'd already been seeing somebody who lived on one of the estates in their own kingdom. But the third son, he had not been seeing anybody. He was a dreamer and loved being so. The first son knew exactly how to cut a tree so it would fall in the direction of that kingdom. The second son was also well versed in how to cut a tree, and he did the same. But the third son, he took the axe, he kept chopping and chopping and chopping, and finally the tree fell over, but it fell right into the forest. Well, the brothers laughed. "What will you marry? Well, who will you find to be your bride? Maybe a fox? Maybe a bear? Who will you find, brother?" He just shrugged, and off he went, and they went in their direction. Well, he traveled and traveled and traveled all through the forest, finding no one. He heard the birds, he saw the fox, and then finally he found a little cabin in the woods. Well, he knocked on the door, but no one answered. He pushed the door open, and he could see that nobody had lived there for a long, long time. There was no fire in the fireplace. The furniture was broken. There were leaves, and he could see that there had also been critters in there. But he was tired. He had his rucksack that had some cheese and some bread, and he settled down on one of the chairs, opened up his cheese and bread, when suddenly there appeared on the table a little mouse. This mouse looked at him and said, "And what are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, I didn't know mice could speak." She said, "Well, I can. So tell me, what are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, I am here because I'm looking for a bride." "Oh, good, I can be your bride." He said, "No, you're a mouse." She said, "But I could be your bride." "No, you're a mouse. We could be friends, but you're a mouse." She said, well, well, well. Well, she decided that maybe he would think about it more if he had a little nap. And she fixed a pillow for him, a little tiny one, but he lay his head down on the pillow, and he was very tired. He had eaten his cheese and bread, and he fell sound asleep. When he woke up the next morning, in his head he kept thinking, maybe that mouse could be my bride. No, 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 he said, a mouse. It's a mouse. Don't be foolish. But he had no one else, and he thought he needed to go back to report in to his father, so he made the journey back to the castle. Well, his two brothers were there, and they were talking about their future brides. And they said, did you find someone? Oh, yes, yes. She is very small in stature, very sweet. She has the softest skin. They said, really, brother, you have found someone in the forest. And so they all celebrated. But the king said, well, that's very good, but now I need to know that as queen, she can help run the castle, because there will be so many things she will be in charge of. The kitchens, the arts, the rooms, the decorations. She will be in charge of most everything. I take care of the politics and that sort. So go back to your bride-to-be and ask her to bake a loaf of bread. I want to see if they can truly bake. Oh, the queen said, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I have always loved baking, and I think it's a good idea to know how to do it. Not that you would have to do it, but how to do it. And so all three brothers went in the direction they would go. Well, that third brother, he didn't know what he was going to do, because, she was a mouse. How was she going to bake a loaf of bread? He got there, he had his cheese and bread, he sat down, he started to eat, and there she came and said, well, are we going to get married now? He said, no, you're a mouse. She said, but you are beginning to like me, I can tell. And he picked her up in his hand, and he stroked her gray fur, and it was the softest fur he had ever felt. He said, well, my father says that you have to bake a loaf of bread, because whoever is king, the queen who is with him, will need to be in charge of all of the kitchens and the arts and the decorating. And she said, oh, well, I know you've been on a long journey. Just lay your head down on this little pillow. And he did. And he fell sound asleep. Now, when he was asleep, she called for all the mice all around in the fields. They came to that little cabin. There were hundreds of little mice, all wanting to know what they could do. And she said, I need wheat. Go out into the fields and gather wheat, gather grains. We will do all sorts of breads. Quickly, gather them now. And they all shot out of that room. It wasn't long. Here they came back with a grain apiece. They ground them with their little feet, and then she made a loaf of bread. It was about, maybe this big. It was a very small loaf of bread. It fit right inside a walnut shell. She tucked that walnut shell next to that third brother, who was still asleep. When in the morning, when he woke up, he found it, and he said, what is this? She said, take it to your father. He wanted bread. He said, but this is a nut. She said, take it. So he put it in his pocket, and he went back home. And sure enough, there were his two brothers. And, well, the first brother, his bride-to-be wasn't exactly a baker, but it wasn't bad bread. It just didn't have much taste. The second one, well, she had been baking all her life, and she made a nice, coarse, heavy bread. And when the third brother came, he said, "Here, father." And the king laughed, and so did the brothers. "What is this?" He said, I don't know. He opened it, and there was a tiny loaf of bread. He put it in his mouth. It was the most delicious bread he had ever tasted. Now the two brothers, not to be outdone, said, "Well, father, there needs to be a third test for the bride-to-be. I mean, we can't let it be decided by a tiny loaf of bread in a nut." And so the queen said, "All right, off with you. See what they can do with a spinning wheel and a loom. Bring us back a cloth, and we will see how good they are with that." So they all three went off in their right directions. Of course, the third, he was moving slowly. How could she possibly spin and weave? She was a mouse. Off he went, and he told her what would happen and what she had to do. She said, "We're not getting married yet." And he said, "We are not getting married. You are a mouse. But I need to take cloth back to my father." So he ate his bread and his cheese, and he lay down on that little pillow again. He fell sound asleep. In the morning when he woke up, well, there was another nut, because, you see, while he slept, she sent all those mice out again to bring back cotton and flax from the fields. And they spun it on the tiniest spinning wheels, and they wove it on the tiniest loom, and then tucked it into another walnut shell. So he picked it up and put it in his pocket, and he made his way back to the castle. Well, there were his brothers. They showed off their cloth. Yes, the princess, she had it was a rough, very rough cloth. The second bride-to-be, hers was, it was warm. It was very warm and well made. But then he handed the nut to his father. He opened the nut, and out came this cloth that floated like gossamer. You could see through it. It was so beautiful. He said, by far, this is the finest cloth. Bring your brides-to-be, and we will have a celebration with flowers and food and love. Bring them now." Well, the third son, okay, he went off and he told his bride-to-be, the mouse, "Yes, we will get married." She said, "Goody, oh, I know just what to do." And so she let him sleep on that little pillow again, and in the morning she had a carriage, a very small carriage, and it was driven by a coachman that was a mouse dressed in its finest, pulled by 4 mice, and she was in her most beautiful gray velvet gown. And off they went. Why, to every step he took, they had to speed up, because he was walking much faster than they were riding. But finally they arrived at the castle, and one of the brothers said, "And what is that? My brother, what have you brought? You have a tiny coach pulled by mice? This is the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen." And he took his foot and he kicked that carriage. It flew up into the air, spinning round and round, and landed down in the river. And now the third son realized that he did love that mouse, and he was sad. But suddenly, from the river came horses and a full carriage and a princess riding in this beautiful carriage pulled by gray mares. It was his princess, his mouse princess. And they were all married that very day with flowers and music and food. And then following the wedding, the king brought them together and said, "Well, I'm not sure which of you should be king." Well, the mouse princess said, "My husband need not be king here, for I have my own lands, and he can be king while I am queen." And the oldest, well, he went with his bride to her kingdom. And so it was the middle son who became king and ruled with gentleness and honor like his father had. And they all lived happily ever after. Thank you for listening to the story. And now I'm going to guide you in some origami. Origami is an ancient art of folding paper. We are going to do some simple projects today. You can see here on the table, I have some hearts and I have flowers. This is a little tulip and this is a very simple heart. What you need is square paper. You know, I can find paper in a lot of places. This is like a pad that you might write notes on, but they are square. Make sure that they are square. You can buy origami paper. Sometimes you can buy them at hobby shops. You can buy it online. So I think we will start with this size paper. We are going to make a heart. All right. Now you'll see that this paper is pink on one side and it is white on the other. Some paper has a color on each side, like this paper is purple on both sides. But we're going to use one that's white and in the middle. All right, now I want you to place your paper. Mine will be white side up. And we're going to rotate it so it looks like a diamond. You can see. It can be any size. It can be small. It can be very large. It could be even larger than that, but we're going to use this size today. Now we're going to fold this paper across here by joining this point to this point. Okay. All right. You should try to get it as exact as possible. All right. Now I'm going to run my thumb down the middle and crease the edge. You see how I've done that? There is a crease. Open it. You can see where this is a valley fold and this is a mountain fold. Now I'm going to turn it around this way, and this time we're going to crease it across this way. From this point to this point will be the crease. We're going to move this point up to this point. All right. Now you see there's that, there is that. This is a mountain fold. This is a valley fold. Okay. Take this point that's closest to you and bring it to the center of the paper, like this. You can follow the crease so that the top crease matches the bottom crease. There. Now, that is not our heart, but it's the beginning of it. And now I'm going to turn this around. I want you to bring this corner to the very edge, not to the middle, to the very edge like this. Now I see where my crease is there. All right, and if you want a really tight crease, you can use your thumbnail. Okay. All right, you're thinking, well, that still doesn't look like a heart yet. Now we're going to, you see this line here? It's got a point here and a point here. There is a triangle there. We're going to take this point of the triangle to this point of the triangle and crease there. Now, oh, it's starting to look like a heart, isn't it? Maybe a half heart. Can you see that? Can you see how it looks? All right, now we're going to take the other side, this point to this point. And you might notice that this side of the paper is touching the crease in the middle. All right, can you see that? No, we're not finished with our heart, but it's beginning to look like a heart, isn't it? I want you to turn it over, and you see there is that first crease we made to fold it to the middle. Now it looks like it has 2 points here. Can you see those 2 points? We're going to take the very point and fold it to the edge of the pink paper. So it looks just like that. And then we'll take this one and fold to this edge of the paper. All right, now you can see it's beginning to look like it's taking shape a little. We might fold that more in the middle so it comes together. But we want it to be rounded, more rounded. So turn it over on the back side again. And we're going to take this little point here and fold it inward. And I will show you, just like this. You see how that's folded? It was really pointy, and now it's got like a straight edge. So one side looks pointy, one side looks flat. All right, now we're going to make the other side look flat. All right, I have creased everything. And if you want, you know, if it looks like it's going to pop up, there is your heart. You can make it big or small. Would you like me to go through this one more time for you? We can do one more, maybe a little smaller. How about, or would bigger work better? I'm not sure. Let's see, if you had small paper like this, you can find small paper like this easily at Target or at any of the big box stores. You can find paper like that. Now, do you remember what we did? We had the paper like a diamond. I'm going to fold this point to this point. There will be a crease in the middle. Let's do that together. All right, I creased it. Now we open it, and we're going to bring this point of the square to this point. Creased in the middle. Do you remember what happens now? This point, this very point here, I'm going to move to the center of the paper. And we have folded it so we know exactly where the center of the paper is. And now, this point to the edge of the paper. There is a fold now that will take you from this point of this triangle to the opposite point of that same triangle. And then we'll do it exactly the same on the other side. Now, there is another heart. Well, we're going to fold these two little white points down to round it out. And you try to be just as neat as possible because every fold, it shapes the whole piece, not just that one fold. All right, there we have another heart. So, now we're going to do a flower. We've got these flowers here. There is a tulip. It's two pieces. So I'll show you. We want a green piece for the stem. And what color flower should we have? Should we have a, maybe a bright blue flower? What do you think? All right, let's begin with the flower. Turn it so that the white is up. We're going to fold it, crease it in the middle, bring this point to this point. Open it up. We need another crease across here. So we'll bring this point to this point. Now I want you to turn it with the blue side up, or whatever color you have, and we're going to fold it in half. And then we'll open it up and we'll fold it in half again. So you see, there we have all these creases, don't we? Now I want you to pop that up, and the ones that we folded in half, they will fold in very nicely. So it kind of looks like a little tent, doesn't it? Crease it. Now, this side here. Can you see this side? I'm going to take this side. It's open at the bottom, closed at the top. We're going to fold at an angle. Now you see how I folded at an angle there? Can you see that? We're going to do the same thing on this side. All right, now, can you see that? Maybe the blue, is it showing up? Okay. You see that? All right, now turn it over, and we'll fold it so that it matches what we did the first time. And if you are really good, you'll not be a slop jockey like I was, and you won't see that white coming through. All right, now it looks like a tulip, doesn't it? But let's make it look more like a tulip. We're going to fold each of these corners in just a little bit. Can you see what I've done there? And now we'll push them together. All right, there is our tulip, the top of it. Ah, yes, but we have the stem to do, don't we? So, you can use any colors. I just thought I would use green for the stem today. I want the white side up. We're going to fold it in half. We do a lot of folding along this diagonal, don't we? Take this corner to this corner. and crease it so you have a triangle. Lots of triangles. Open it up, spread it out, and we're going to fold this. It's kind of like you're doing either an airplane. If any of you have ever made paper airplanes, you fold them so that when you fold, the edge of the paper reaches the fold in the middle. All right, now we're going to do the other side. Open it up so you can see. And you want it as tight as possible. All right, now, sort of looks like a kite, doesn't it? All right, now leave that just as it is, and we're going to fold in the top part. It doesn't look like it's as big, but it isn't. We're folding it over what we just did below. And it is, the edge is touching that crease in the middle. All right, now you have something that has folds up above and folds below. Now this fold, you want to make it very tight. We're going to fold this side so that this crease touches the center fold. See how close we have to get it? Do you see that? Now it's getting narrower. And the other side. You're thinking, maybe that looks like a leaf, but what we're going to do now is fold this in half so that this point will touch that point. And press it down, crease it. So now it looks like that on one side and that on the other. You see how it flips out? All right, fold it now down the center. All right, here is the head of our flower. If you look there, you can see there is a tiny hole in the middle of that flower. You can pull it a little bit. We're going to take the stem. Now, I should have folded that a little tighter, shouldn't I? Fold that stem, and we're going to put it right inside that little hole. You see how it slips in? And there we have a tulip. How about that? I have a blue tulip for you. Now, I don't know if we can do this once more. Let's try it once more. I'll do it on a bigger piece so you can see it a little better. Watch me closely. All right, here's your paper. We're going to make the color side show by folding it from the white side. You know, put the white side up first. Crease it, open it, turn it over. We're going to crease it again. Okay, now this is for the flower. We're going to fold it into the middle, and we'll fold this one to the edge. Oh, I just did a heart. I meant to do a flower. I'm sorry. I thought, what am I doing? Okay. Let's make a red flower. Yes, we're going to do this the same way. Fold point to point. Open it up, color side up, fold it in half. Open it up, fold it in half again. All right. Now, it looks kind of like a little mountain, but all those valley folds will fold in so that you have like a tent, like we talked about before. And now, these are the petals of the tulip. Go from that center fold turn it over to do it once more. Try to match your petals. And then we will just fold in the tips so it looks like a more rounded flower. They are, and let's see, let's make it a bright green. All right, for the leaf and the stem, fold it once, corner to corner on that diamond. Open it up, and we're going to make like our airplane again. Fold the edge along the crease on both sides. Okay, now it looks like a kite again. Now we'll fold the top, edge to the crease. And I wonder if you remember what else we are doing now. We're going to fold the sides in and make them very tiny on both sides. Okay, and finally we fold in the middle, but it doesn't look like the middle, does it? Because one side is fat and one side is skinny. And so point to point, and we fold it in the middle and crease it, yes, and then we take that and fold it so it's wrapped up. It looks like it became a tiny piece of paper. Pull out your stem, and we'll insert it in the hole in our flower, and there we have another tulip. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today for Hearts and Flowers, and I hope you enjoyed the story, and have a wonderful Valentine's Day.